Oh, hello. Hope you guys are all doing well. Andy Musgrove here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see me holding up this wonderful, glossy Newcastle United magazine. Reach PLC have teamed up with Newcastle United to produce the official Carabao Cup Winners 24-25 magazine, celebrating the first domestic trophy in 70 years. Costs £10, and if you are someone who's collected items from last season to celebrate that win, then this is one you're going to want to add to your collection. It is very well put together. The quality is superb. Lots of great written content. Takes you on the journey throughout the rounds to the cup final. Of course, that famous win with Alexander Isak getting the second goal and securing Newcastle United the Carabao Cup. I'll pop the link in the podcast description box for you to get your copy. Do click on it and do pop it in your basket and get it delivered. And also click on the link for your eSIM provided by Saley. Now that comes from the creators of NordVPN, and you can choose from several affordable eSIM data plans in over 200 destinations. With a Saley eSIM, you'll always have connection when needed. Do hit the link in the podcast description box to get a discounted offer on your eSIM. Get connected and support the podcast. Thanks to Saley for backing the podcast. Right. I'm not going to sit here, ladies and gents, and say to you that this is going to be an episode filled with transfer tales, because the reality is it's just not going to be. It's a little bit quiet across the board when it comes to the Premier League, and a little bit quiet when it comes to Newcastle United. Few reports on João Pedro and Anthony Elanga, and I think those two, along with Marquis, are top of the list. I think João Pedro probably at the moment is the one that's closest to getting done, although I don't think it's anywhere near being done. Famous last words. Watch it probably get announced as I put this episode out. But I wouldn't be worried at this stage. Yes, we would have all have liked Newcastle United to do some business very early on in that first window, which closed, and then obviously it's reopened earlier this week. But on reflection, probably a little bit more realistic to expect Newcastle United to do something towards the end of June and then into July. Of course, we've got that PSR deadline hanging over us. Now, what will happen? Well, it's nice to be sitting here with Newcastle United not in any danger. Newcastle United have been very good when it comes to the numbers. Obviously, they haven't signed anyone in 3 windows, and that leads you into this summer transfer window with the hope and expectation that they will strengthen significantly and give Eddie Howe the tools to continue what has been a great job so far. I think you may see some movement next week. Obviously, that'll be in the last week of June. The deadline is June the 30th for PSR. And there's one club in particular that we're all going to have eyes on, and it's Aston Villa. Lots of people are expecting them to fall foul of PSR or have to sell some big names to avoid a points deduction. Jacob Ramsey is the name that has continuously been linked to Newcastle United. He's been watched, he's liked. However, it's not a deal that I can see happening. I think he fits the profile 24. He can play in various positions, but for me, you look at his stats last season, he played majority of last season on the left wing. Newcastle have got 2 fantastic left wingers in Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon, who at different times of last season were playing their best football they've played at Newcastle United. And we have to hope with a good pre-season in their sales that continues into the new campaign. Why would you splash 30, 40 million on Jacob Ramsey, which I think would be the asking price? We saw last summer with Newcastle scrapping around and having to sell Minter and Elliot Anderson. They still got the best part of 40 million for each of those players. So I think Villa would be daft to let them go for anything less than 30 million. I think that's what he would demand. Newcastle aren't going to spend that on a player who effectively would be third choice. If one of those, Barnes or Gordon, goes, then yeah, maybe. But right now, I don't think so. And of course, you've only got that week to act and take advantage of Villa's predicament, if indeed they are stung by PSR. We don't know for sure. And look, there's going to be other clubs sniffing around, not just Ramsey, but potentially Ollie Watkins as well. So I think Newcastle United probably won't go after Ramsey, especially not at the fair market value, which I think, like I said, will be closer to £40 million, if anything. They may look at taking advantage of other clubs. We don't know for certain who is and isn't in danger. There may be some surprises. So we'll wait and see on that. But I think once we get into July, I think we'll start to see things really moving. And like I say, I think it will be Pedro and Elanga they'll be going for, and Marquis too, and more on those in a moment. We're going to start on Sam Fender, though. 3 sellout nights at St James's Park. 50,000 people there per night. Looked fantastic. I'm not a fan. I'll say that right now. Don't begrudge the lad of success. Great to see someone local hitting the big time. Not for me. I wasn't there. Seemed like the majority of my family, though, and the majority of my timeline were there. looked great on the videos and the pictures. And when I looked at the videos and pictures, I couldn't help but think, why don't we see this on a more regular basis? Is St James's Park as a venue, and I'm talking about the structure built for it, could it become a regular music venue? And the answer is probably somewhere in between no and yes. And it leads you to another question about a modern day St James's Park. Would that be better equipped? And the answer would be most certainly. I think what we saw with Sam Fender is that Newcastle, from an operations point of view, can handle it superbly, that the crowd is there for the right artist. But we do need to be seeing this on a more regular basis, because it reportedly brought in £20 million to the local economy. And, a buzzing city is great for Newcastle United. It's mutually beneficial. And you look up and down the country at some of these stadiums that do more than just football. Tottenham is the prime example. They've had Beyonce there this month. They do NFL. They've had Anthony Joshua boxing there. This is the sort of thing we need to see at St James's Park. And it all leads into where Newcastle are going to call home for the next 100 and odd years. Will it be at St James's Park where they expand, or will it be a brand new stadium, most likely over the road at Leazes Park? A brand new stadium would lead you to these events, and it would be easier to put them on, I would think. You look at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, they've got this retractable pitch where the grass goes underneath into the garage, then artificial pitch is laid, and then the NFL play on it, which is fantastic. Saves you money on replacing a pitch. And of course, that's not cheap to do, but with a brand new stadium, it's a lot more easier to implement, I would think, than expanding St James's Park. How would you implement that system at St James's Park at its current site? I'm not too sure you could. Of course, the experts, I think, will be looking at it. And of course, I do think that, having seen the success of Sam Fender, those in the corridors of St James's Park are looking at this decision, and I expect they've already come to their decision. But I suspect they'll be having conversations like, wow, look what we did here. What does the future hold for Newcastle United in terms of putting on events that aren't just football? And that's key. And that does pain people when you say that, because the purpose of St James's Park, whether it be where it is or in Leazes Park, is to host Newcastle United. But in the world of PSR, where every penny counts, every revenue stream needs to be hit. And the last person to play at St James's Park from a music point of view was Sam Fender a few years ago. Before that, Ed Sheeran in 2018. Before that, I think it was Kings of Leon in 2014. It doesn't happen on a regular basis. Would a brand new stadium allow that to happen? Most certainly so, and that would be beneficial to Newcastle United. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Talk about Champions League now. Yes, the Champions League is coming back to St James's Park. Very excited for it, aren't we? The club earlier this week announced their cup schemes for season ticket holders, so we don't know what the prices are for non-season ticket holders. I suspect that'll come out later in the summer. But there are 3 separate schemes: the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, and FA Cup. You must enroll on every one of them separately. You can choose to enroll on none, 1, 2, or 3, but you must choose. If you do want to enroll, you have to do it for each cup separately. So don't forget, go back and check you've done it if you want to be on all 3, because the deadline is the 27th of June and you don't want any nasty surprises. In terms of pricing, I think each cup scheme is very, very reasonable, and even more reasonable when you compare it to other clubs. So domestically, cup fees, fantastic. So the prices are brilliant. FA Cup, £30 for an adult, junior, £15. Carabao Cup, even cheaper, £20 for an adult, junior, £10. And these cup competitions are so important to those fans who maybe can't afford to go to a Premier League game or can't even get a ticket because the demand is so high. It's so important to get that next generation of fans in, to get that family trip out to St James's Park. I know people can complain about the atmosphere, etc., but these cup competitions are so important for fans who can't regularly get to games. Good on the club for keeping the tickets at an affordable price. Sorry. Now, Champions League, I can have no complaints about these ticket pricing. I know some will, but I don't think you can have any complaints at all. So, junior pricing, frozen. General admission, £5 rise, or a £10 increase if you're in the premium seats, which is the 1892 club or the Platinum club. So the Champions League is £60 for general admission, or £70 in a Platinum seat, which I think is fantastic. I think that's really, really reasonable. Like, if you compare it to, say, Aston Villa, last season, who of course were in the Champions League, it's really, really good. Villa last season charged season ticket holders £79. Non-season ticket holders were charged between £85 and £97. Juniors were charged £79, or without a season ticket, £94. That is scandalous. I know you've got to make money and you've got to be profitable, but that is ridiculous. Now, of course, they're not in the Champions League this time around. They're in the Europa League. But even then, their pricing is very close to what you'll be paying as a season ticket holder to watch Champions League football. So at Villa, season ticket holders will pay £45 to £57 for a game in the Europa League at Villa Park. Non-season ticket holders will pay £55 to £67. So, there's not much difference at all there. And that's for an inferior competition. So I think they're very reasonable from Newcastle United. Of course, we wait to see what non-season ticket holders will pay, but I can't imagine it being that much higher, maybe £15, £20, which again isn't too bad. Certainly not Aston Villa prices, is it? But I think the club deserve a little bit of praise for keeping the pricing reasonable, because some clubs will just up it, especially more than a fiver from 2 seasons ago. So I think, yeah, very reasonable. Let me know in the comments what you think. On to some football then. William Sula has impressed in the Euro Championship, 21 competition, playing for Denmark. He scored 3 goals in 2 games. And now plenty of people are saying, Eddie Howe got it wrong towards the end of last season. What does Eddie Howe know? I don't think he got it wrong. And I'm one of William Sula's biggest fans. Towards the end of last season, I was saying he's going to be a big star. I've seen enough in the cameos. And yes, I wanted him to play more minutes than he was afforded. But I don't think Eddie Howe has got it wrong. I think Eddie Howe and the staff have got a plan for him. Last season, in the brief moments he did play, what we saw with Willis Sula was a player who's very unpredictable. He's got a lot of energy, but he's direct. He's got skill. That's what impressed me. Ball control, wanting to do something, wanting to create. That's what you want. He was exciting to watch. But also, what we saw was bad decision making, the wrong pass, head down sometimes when he's running, looking a little bit raw, not the finished product. Now, of course, you can only get to be the finished product with more game time. And this is why I think he's flourishing in the Euro Championships. But did Eddie Howe get it wrong? Not at all. He sees these players day in, day out. You trust the manager. And look what happened with Lewis Hall. Struggled initially to get into the team. Eddie Howe was patient. He had a plan. And he would have been player of the season had it not been for injury last campaign. So, no, Eddie Howe didn't get it wrong. But yes, William Masula is going to be a talent. Big season for him next campaign. I think he will play because Newcastle on all 4 competitions. They're going to need to rotate. He's going to get his opportunities, but he's doing his chances no harm performing the way he is over in Romania with Denmark in the Euro Championships. One question I have seen asked is whether Newcastle United still need to go out and spend big on João Pedro or another forward, given Asula impressing in the Euro Championships. Come on. Yes, they do. Be a massive gamble to go into next season with Alexander Isak and William Asula and maybe Callum Wilson, but we'll not talk about Callum Wilson in the moment. William Asula next season is a backup to Alexander Isak. João Pedro coming in is a direct competitor for Alexander Isak. He's the man who's going to push Alexander Isak in training. Will Asula will work hard, put everything into it, but he's not going to push him for that starting spot. Newcastle United needs someone to come in, and it's going to cost them big, but they need someone to come in who is, okay, João Pedro's not on the level of Alexander Isak, but he's certainly streets ahead of Will Asula. And to even suggest that Newcastle don't go and spend money on a new forward who can make an instant impact, I think is a little bit naive. They need another striker to come in, someone that can definitely push Isak, and Pedro, I think, will be that man. The other person we need to talk about ripping it up over in Romania is Cordero. Now, obviously, he signed just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Lots of hype about this man playing for Spain in the Under-19s Euro Championship, and he's played the first 2 matches, full 90 minutes for him. Last time out, they won 3-1. He was playing out on the left wing, 1 goal, 1 assist, and he was absolutely superb by all accounts. Lots of praise for Cordero, and it's going to be really interesting to see if there's any top teams come in from on loan. I don't think a successful under-19s tournament will change Newcastle's mind. I still think he'll go out on loan, but he's certainly getting everyone very, very excited with these performances. I mean, this is his stats from that game against Romania. 97 minutes played, 64 touches, 85% pass completion rate, 9 out of 10 duels won. He was fouled 4 times, 3 accurate crosses, 2 chances created, 2 successful dribbles, 1 goal, 1 assist. I mean, absolutely superb by Cordero, and hopefully his tournament continues to be a success. They're into the semi-finals. Brilliant, and I'm really intrigued to see where he goes. Are there any of you out there who would like to see him remain at Newcastle United and get a chance in the first team? There will be some, but what I do think is important, and I go back to the point about Ramsey, is that if he's going to play out on the left, you've got 2 brilliant players ahead of you. You won't get much opportunity. Send him out on loan to an Ajax, to a PSV, get regular game time, come back next season and make your mark. But it's superb to see him doing so well. We mentioned Pedro and Anthony Elanga. Reports £60 million is the price tag for Pedro. Talks have begun. Anthony Elanga still on the radar. Like I say, I think things will move towards the end of the month, probably into July, but I think Newcastle United are quietly confident of getting that job done. Someone that Eddie Howe really likes is Pedro. I think the versatility and his age is a big, big plus. Is £60 million too much? I'm getting a little bit bored of conversations about asking prices, to be quite honest, because, you know, it's football. It's football. Look at his tally. £60 million is probably a fair market value. And at the end of the day, if Newcastle want them and Brighton are wanting to sell, but have got the power because of the contract and the length of his deal, Newcastle United are going to have to stump up some cash. So is it worth it? Who's to say? Who's to say what anyone's worth, really? You know, it's mad, isn't it? Transfer fees and all that. But this is the world of football. Get the deal done, get him in, and move on to other targets. I think it will get done. I do think it will get done. We're going to finish on some other positive news, because it has been announced that 3 of Newcastle United's most exciting academy prospects have committed their future to the club. Sean Neve, Leo Sahar, and Trevan Sanusi have all agreed new deals with the club, which is brilliant. Newcastle United tying down their best youngsters for the future. Steve Harper, academy director, of course, former Newcastle United goalkeeper, has said that Sean, Leo, and Trevan have shown great promise, and we're delighted to see them continue their journey with us. Each of them has shown great commitment and potential, and we look forward to supporting their development as they take the next steps in their career. Also signing their first professional contracts with the club: Joe Brayson, Logan Watts, and Luke Craggs, while Sam Alabi, Michael Mills, a lot of people on social media getting very excited about him last season, and Sammy Pinkin have agreed first-year scholarships, while Thomas Bryan's scholarship has been extended into a 3rd year. Steve Harper added, "It's always a proud moment to see young players progress their careers and earn their professional contracts, or their first professional contracts. The challenge now is to keep pushing, keep improving, and make the most of opportunities ahead. But they should take all great pride in this recognition and use it as motivation for next season." So 3 big names in the academy signing new deals with club. Fingers crossed they can break into the first team. Sanusi, of course, got on against Bromley in the FA Cup. Had the pleasure of speaking to Sanusi, and for such a young man, he speaks really well, handles himself really well, and he's got ambitions. You know, he's got real ambitions, and that's great to see. We know Sean Neve has really impressed, senior staff there as well. And it's great to see the club being proactive and keeping these players at the club. Going to be interesting to see if any go out on loan, do any break into the first team. Obviously, like I say, the schedule is going to be a little bit hectic. There's going to have to be plenty of rotation. Sanusi, recovering from an injury, may have got some opportunities towards the end of last season. But big futures hopefully ahead for these 3 guys. And at Newcastle United, let me know in the comments if you've seen them. Are you happy with that news? I certainly am. I think it's great to see the club investing in the youth, and 3 very, very talented players. This has been the Everything is Black and White podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show. Do hit thumbs up on YouTube. Do hit subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies and gents, go out and get this magazine, the Carabao Cup Winners magazine. You're going to love it. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys very soon.